we'll do a 5-minute stretch break and then have the final discussion of the day. I'll hand over to student Dr. Kelvin Moore for the next session introduction.
All right, great. Gauri Singh heads technology, training, and innovation at Lifebox, where she leads the development and dissemination of low-cost, accessible tools, technology, and training for safer surgery and anesthesia, including the development of new innovations and devices. Before joining Lifebox, she worked as a commercial manager at Equalize Health, formerly DREV, and manager of strategy at market development at Johnson & Johnson Medical. Gauri Singh, it's very nice to meet you, and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Kelvin. Hi, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity to present Lifebox perspective to challenges to safe and equitable pulse oximetry. For those of you who don't know, Lifebox is a global nonprofit working to make surgery and anesthesia safer in low and middle income countries. We will talk about Lifebox connection to pulse oximetry, the real world challenges that we face, and finally recommendations for this group. Pulse oximeter, as all of you know, is a critical tool for monitoring patients before, during, and after surgery, and hence it is the only piece of equipment included in the WHO surgical safety checklist, and it is a minimum standard for safe anesthesia. Yesterday, my colleague, Dr. Lizzie Gaga, mentioned in her presentation, when Lifebox was founded in 2011, 77,000 operating rooms around the world lacked a pulse oximeter. We are working to address this gap by equipping anesthesia providers with pulse oximeters in conjunction with training. We worked with the World Federation of Society of Anesthesiologists, WFSA, to put together specifications for these devices. We've always tested the devices at the UCSF hypoxia lab and adapted a durable, low-cost, and high-quality device for resource-constrained settings. Over the last decade, we have handed over 34,000 Lifebox mild-trained pulse oximeters to anesthesia provider in 116 countries, with the majority of them being countries in Africa. And hence the issue that we're discussing about inaccuracy of pulse oximeters in dark skin pigmentations is even more critical for us. When the COVID pandemic struck, the demand of pulse oximeters surged exponentially. We started getting a request from all across the world. There's also flooding of market with low-cost, low-quality pulse oximeters. Many of the over-the-counter consumer-grade ones. We, like many others, faced a lot of supply chain issues with lack of raw materials and delayed turnaround times. And hence we felt the need to diversify our supply of reliable devices across multiple manufacturers. We launched a request for proposal, tested devices again at the hypoxia lab, and selected 3 for user acceptability evaluation, which is currently ongoing in 4 countries. Coming to the real world challenges, this is my colleague, Dr. John Paul. He's an anesthesiologist at the University Teaching Hospital of Butare in Rwanda. He's also a joint fellow in global surgery at the University of Global Health Equity and Lifebox. In his daily clinical practice, he has encountered false SpO2 readings, either in cases when the patient is shivering, but also in cases of low perfusion, cyanosis, and excessive motion of patients. Unfortunately, the gold standard arterial blood gas analysis is not available at his hospital. So the only option is for him to clinically assess the other vital parameters of the patient and treat them accordingly. So coming from the experience of Dr. John Paul and many others like him, the only monitoring device available in many settings in low middle income countries is a pulse oximeter, and hence the accuracy is even more critical. We've been discussing about lack of well-accepted quality and accuracy standards for these devices used in LMICs. We feel there's also limited understanding of usage of pulse oximeter in different cases, anesthesia, respiratory care, and others. And finally, we also feel the need for advocacy of this device as a life-saving equipment because we face a lot of challenges in clearance processes, import tariffs, which add to the cost of the device. Coming to the recommendations, there's, of course, we need to continue training of providers on clinical interpretation of detective hypoxemia to improve patient outcomes. We also call for more research focused in LMICs to ensure high confidence levels of providers on pulse oximeters for continuous monitoring, and more work on understanding how healthcare providers are using pulse oximeters in settings where they haven't used them before. There's also a need for more inclusive testing and transparency on testing processes and results by suppliers across skin pigmentations, different saturation levels, and other factors known to impact accuracy. There also needs to be a clear distinction between the medical grade and over-the-counter consumer grade devices. Also calling for making technology improvements affordable and accessible in resource-constrained settings. And finally, facilitating in-country or regional manufacturing closer to the sites where these devices are used. That's all from my side. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Gauri. I'm looking through the chat. I don't see any questions yet. Any questions in the room? Comments? All right. Well, thank you very much, Gauri, for that presentation. I think now we'll take a 5-minute break and we will reconvene.
Yeah, Gauri, special thanks for staying up quite late. We know that was not easy to do, so very much appreciated. Thanks for contributing. We'll be back in 5 minutes for everybody online.